pockets of frost and fog, but it doesn't last long. We keep the sunny spells in the east whilst the next system brings wetter weather into the west with an increasing wind, gales in exposed western parts. And it stays unsettled through Friday and the weekend. A lot of showers around, but in between some brighter spells and feeling a bit warmer.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
I think for far too long in this country, millions of people felt as though they weren't represented at all by the establishment media.
GB News was needed because there literally was no other voice. Everyone was saying the same thing.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
But journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
Charlie Peters, he gave a voice to the victims of grooming gangs, and now, of course, it's led to a national inquiry.
GB News exists to make sure those concerns are put forward and people feel as though what
they want to ask is put to those in power.
We don't take orders from anyone. We ask the questions our viewers and listeners want answering.
I know what's actually being discussed by my family and my friends.
Us ordinary, hard-working British people have had enough. We've had enough.
They're fed up with the same old establishment nonsense. Everything that we do is opening up conversations that others are afraid to go at.
Why are you illegally bringing people into Britain?
That is our job. Our job is to get to the truth.
If it's important to you watching or listening at home, then it's important to us as well.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. An Afghan national allegedly kills one man and stabs two more in London. Questions. Why is he here in Britain? Is it terrorism? How much more of this are we expected to put up with? Also tonight, on the same day the government announces illegal migrants will be housed at military bases, I reveal a Libyan gun fanatic is living at RAF Weathersfield. Also tonight, yesterday David Lammy laughed about the release of an Ethiopian sex offender.
Strikes again. It's a national...
Well, today...
Out of mind, you're out of luck. Just like nobody even care if you be wrong.
It's another exclusive for you. A murderer humiliates the Justice Minister by mocking his victim from behind bars. And
I will not raise income tax.
7%. And may I take this opportunity to thank our outstanding British Transport Police.
Oh, more property tax, a possible income tax hike. I mean, you name it, she'll tax it. But do you feel sorry for Rachel Reeves? And on my panel tonight, we have got writer and broadcaster Emma Trimble, Reform Party councillor Jamie McIver and Labour councillor Sebastian Salek. And... well, there we go. These are actually live pictures because the world's largest storm has now hit Jamaica and Brits are in peril. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. How much more of this are we expected to put up with? Next.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom just after 9 o'clock. Well, we'll start with that breaking news in Jamaica, where British tourists are in lockdown tonight as Hurricane Melissa, one of the strongest Atlantic storms in history, has smashed into the island. The storm made landfall with winds of more than 180 miles an hour, making it the most powerful ever recorded on the island. It has now been downgraded to a Category 4 as it tears inland. Officials are warning of catastrophic flooding, landslides and total building failures, with waves of up to 4 metres high battering coastal towns. Around 8,000 Britons are sheltering in hotels. They've been told not to leave their rooms even as the eye of the storm passes overhead. And here the Foreign Office has activated a crisis centre to help those trapped, while Jamaica's Prime Minister is warning no infrastructure, he says, can withstand a hurricane of this strength. Also breaking tonight, blasts and tank fire have again been heard across Gaza just hours after Israel ordered powerful strikes on Hamas positions. The move came after Israel accused Hamas of violating the ceasefire, claiming militants fired on its troops. The Israelis also claimed Hamas put an unknown body in the soil, then excavated it, saying it was one of the deceased hostages. Hamas, though, has hit back, accusing Israel of fabricating false pretexts to justify new attacks, and says it's being blocked from recovering the 13 remaining hostages. But the US has insisted tonight the truce is still intact, with Vice President J.D. Vance saying the ceasefire is holding, despite what he called little skirmishes here and there. Here, the man arrested over a fatal triple stabbing in Uxbridge entered the UK in a lorry in 2020, the Home Office has now confirmed. The 22-year-old Afghan national claimed asylum 2 years after arriving and was granted leave to remain in 2022, but was not living in asylum accommodation despite rumours circulating online. Police say the attack, which killed a 49-year-old man and injured 2 others, was a shocking and a senseless act of violence. The suspect was tasered and arrested at the scene on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. Officers now say they're not treating the incident as terrorism and are working to confirm any link between the victims and that suspect. Thousands of small boat migrants will be moved out of hotels and into former army barracks, with the first group expected to move in by Christmas. The government's confirmed discussions are underway for 2 sites, one in Scotland, the other in the south of England, which could house up to 900 men. Sir Keir Starmer has ordered officials to speed up plans to use military accommodation amid growing pressure to end the use of hotels. His Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, says she is absolutely furious that hotels are still being used to house illegal arrivals. Amazon has said it will cut around 14,000 corporate jobs worldwide as it shifts its focus and spending towards artificial intelligence. The company says it wants to strip away layers of bureaucracy and move faster on what it calls its biggest bets, with AI at the top of that list. The job cuts will affect UK offices, among others, though most warehouse roles won't be impacted. And actress Prunella Scales, best known, of course, for playing Sybil Fawlty in Fawlty Towers, has died at the age of 93. Her sons Samuel and Joseph said she passed away peacefully at home in London yesterday. Her co-star John Cleese paid tribute, calling her a really wonderful comic actress and saying scene after scene she was absolutely perfect. It comes as the legendary sitcom marks 50 years since it first aired. That's the news on GB News. I'll be back with you for a full roundup at 10. Now, though, it's over to Patrick.
When is shocking news just not a shock anymore in modern Britain? It was, of course, the development that rocked the nation today. A 22-year-old Afghan national has been arrested over a triple stabbing which left a 49-year-old dog walker dead in Uxbridge in West London. The individual arrived in November 2020 in the back of a lorry and was granted asylum and, of course, obviously leave to remain in 2022. But he's not a resident in Home Office accommodation. How much more of this are we expected to put up with? To bring us the very latest, I'm joined now by GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. Mark, can you bring us up to date, please?
Well, Patrick, the significance of this story really only started to emerge this morning, even though the horrific events unfolded yesterday evening, and we got word that this was the main suspect, a national from Afghanistan. We were told very quickly by the Home Office that he wasn't a small boat migrant, but then it later emerged that he'd still entered the country illegally in the back of a lorry. Now, we can show you some images obtained by GB News exclusively of the moments when this 22-year-old Afghan national has been arrested. He's on the roadway there with police officers surrounding him as an ambulance comes into shot there, heading up towards the scene where 3 people lie stabbed and injured. One of those, as you said, 49-year-old dog walker out just walking his street, very well known in this local area, intervened, we're told, because of a disturbance that was taking place on the street, where it's alleged that this suspect was running around chasing 2 other people, a 14-year-old boy and a 45-year-old man, who were later stabbed as well with a knife. And then the 49-year-old was fatally stabbed at that point. We've got another piece of footage that we'd like to bring you that shows the moment when the police arrive on this quiet residential street and then confront the suspect. Well, as you can imagine, Patrick, it was an absolutely horrific scene that unfolded in that quiet residential street. I spoke to Paul O'Brien, who entered the scene just at the moment where you're seeing these images there of the confrontation and arrest of the suspect. This is what he told me.
They were shouting at them to drop their weapon. They were saying, "Armed police, drop your weapon." And the guy had his arms up, but he was walking backwards, sort of towards me, with his back towards me down this road.
Could you see the weapon?
Yeah, in his right hands. He had it held up, quite a big weapon, I'd say about that big, I guess, from distance. And yeah, he was backing towards me. The police just kept shouting very loudly, "Armed police, drop your weapon," and he didn't. So they tasered him, and he fell down onto my right here. Just on the pavement where he stayed, really. I think he had some medical attention, but there was just complete chaos around here.
Well, the suspect was taken to hospital, but he was found to be uninjured after having been tasered. He's now in police custody. I also spoke to Ben James, another neighbour, who was pretty quickly on scene and really saw just a horrific image. Ben, tell us what you saw last night when you first became aware that something had unfolded here.
So when I come here last night, I actually come with a friend. I saw it on one of my friends has sent me that someone's been stabbed down Midhurst Gardens in Hillingdon. I was only 3 roads away, so I pulled up with a friend yesterday, and there was 2 guys on the floor bleeding quite heavy. Very distressing, but what's worse about it? Well, it's not becoming shocking no more. It's like becoming the norm, and that's what's really terrifying. If this happened 5, 6 years ago, everyone would be screaming, it'd be uproar, but now it's just becoming like the normal, and that's what's scary about it, really scary.
Well, I think well summed up, I suppose, by Ben James there, and sad to hear a resident in that area talk about what he sees as sort of rising levels of violent crime, Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. You know, and going out and walking your dog is something that many people, millions of people in Britain do every single day. And it feels as though it's almost a basic human right to not be expected to be confronted, in this case anyway, allegedly by an Afghan with a knife who's arrived in this country illegally in the back of a lorry. What do we know, if anything, Mark, about the circumstances that led up to this alleged offence? You know, was there some kind of disturbance in a property that spilled out onto the street? What do we know?
Well, I mean, there have been conflicting reports throughout the day from local residents there as to whether this was an HMO, house of multiple occupancy, or whether this individual had been sharing a flat with another family. Now, the Home Office have since confirmed that he wasn't in Home Office accommodation, having already been granted asylum. So it appears he was sharing with a family, that there was some kind of confrontation, a fracas that spilled over onto the street. The indications are that the 45-year-old man who was stabbed and seriously injured was known to this suspect. I don't know about the 14-year-old boy. He was less seriously injured, but clearly a lot of questions to be answered here, and some very worried people in this area of the city.
Yeah, Mark, look, thank you very, very much. I know that you've been at the scene for us all day, and we're going to be hearing from you again a little bit later, so it is much appreciated. So I'm a security editor, Mark White there. Look, as you can imagine, there are bits of footage that we are not going to be showing to you because they are far, far too distressing for broadcast on national television. But it's just an absolutely horrific incident that's taken place. I'm going to be returning to that later in the show, so make sure you stay tuned because I'm expecting some further updates for you. We'll bring them to you first here on GB News. But another day, another humiliation for David Lammy, a depraved student who stabbed his housemate to death through the heart during an argument about their taste in music, seems to be taunting his victim's family by dancing and rapping in prison while smoking an unknown substance, maybe cannabis. Smirking Saeed Hussein Qazi, who's 26, is seen dancing and rapping while illegally filming himself on a mobile phone in jail for a clip which he then posted on Instagram. Here it is.
Out of mind, you're out of luck. Just like nobody even care if you be wrong. Why I fall out with my niggas when I'm up? Why nobody stand up for me when I'm down? You back in.
The convicted murderer served life with a minimum of 18 years. He is still serving that sentence, and he captioned the clip, If I'm enjoying Bang Up more than you're enjoying life right now, reevaluate your life. And one of his followers commented, he's back. Everything about that clip is illegal. Literally everything. Smoking what could very well be drugs, on a phone he's not supposed to have, posting to a social media account he's not supposed to be able to access, is another embarrassing episode for the Ministry of Justice. Still reeling from the accidental release of HMP Chelmsford of notorious child sex offender Hadush Kabatu on Friday. And yesterday, David Lammy, of course, chuckled in Parliament when he was challenged about the accidental release of that Ethiopian illegal migrant.
Calamity Lammy strikes again. It's a national embarrassment. He has perfected the art of performative outrage to a T.
Yeah, and now here we go again today. Here we go again today. A murderer convicted in a prison cell, filming on his phone, smoking what may well be cannabis, posting on an Instagram account, seeming to mock, of course, his victims. Do you really think that David Lammy's taking this stuff seriously? Let's get the views of my panel. We have got writer and broadcaster Emma Trimble, Reform UK councillor Jamie McIver, and Labour councillor Sebastian Saleh. Emma, I'll start with you. I mean, look, here, looking at what's going on there in Britain's prisons, and you just think, has David Lammy lost control of this?
Well, yeah, I mean, the MOJ is a complete disgrace, not just because of this, other things as well. But just seeing him there chuckling about this, I mean, I get there was a farcical, dark, humorous aspect about the fact that this guy kept going back to the prison and knocking on the door and asking to be let in. But this is not funny. You know, this guy made his way all the way from Chelmsford to Finsbury Park, and every single woman that he came into contact along the way was in danger. Every single child he came into contact along the way is in danger. And David Lammy laughs. I mean, I just seeing him chuckle in that video clip there, I feel furious. And I think that many people, I'm sure most people across the country, whether they're concerned about their wives, their sisters, their daughters, people have had enough of this. We're sick of it. And imagine being the family of the person, of the boy who was murdered by this guy, seeing him enjoying himself in prison, apparently. Clearly, it's very easy to get hold of all of these illegal things, whether it's the phone or the whatever it is that he's smoking there. I mean, it's a joke, but it's not funny.
I mean, is David Lammy just the wrong man to be anywhere near the justice system, do you think?
Well, he was never the right man to be in government, full stop, as far as I'm concerned. He completely messed up the Foreign Office, made Britain be an international embarrassment. What sort of Prime Minister puts someone that's an international embarrassment into one of the most sensitive departments in government, the Ministry of Justice? You can't call yourself the Ministry of Justice if people that are meant to be being punished are being released by accident or on social media trying to taunt the victims' families of somebody you've killed. It is all about standards, and one thing that we haven't got from this Labour government is any sort of standard at all. But justice is a very serious office of state. David Lammy doesn't take it seriously, and we've seen that just with some of the last week's news. But more importantly, this guy's record in office has always been pretty shambolic, and we've got a Prime Minister that has terrible judgment by putting him into that department. OK, well, I don't know if we might be able to play that video again without sound at all, just to remind ourselves of what happened. But, yeah, I mean, look, obviously there's the combination of stuff. I mean, everything seems to be going a bit wrong at the moment, Sebastian, doesn't it? You know, David Lammy chuckling away there in the House of Commons and immediately followed up by a murderer essentially taunting his victim by appearing to smoke drugs and rapping in prison on an illegal phone.
Yeah, a lot happening here. Let's be honest about the Hadush Kabatu situation. That was a big mess-up. Does the Justice Secretary have to take responsibility for that? Of course he does. Can he be blamed for that? I don't think so. He doesn't work at HMP Chelmsford. He wasn't there signing him off accidentally. So it would be false to say that it is his fault. Now, of course, he's got to clean up the mess, but let's not get sidetracked by that. Chappie in prison, terrible thing to do. I'm pleased that he's going to be punished for it. He deserves it. He shouldn't be taunting his victim's family like that. It's not the right thing to do. He shouldn't have cigarettes. He shouldn't be smoking. Whatever he's smoking, let's not speculate on that because we don't know. But he certainly shouldn't be doing that. I think that tells us he's probably not having a great time. If he's feeling the need to show off like that, it's probably not going well for him.
No, absolutely not. I mean, prisoners are getting PlayStations and suites and all sorts of wonderful privileges. The idea that he's having a terrible time while he's got his, smoking and posting and bragging about it, I just think is ridiculous. For someone like that in particular, prison should be a punishment. And David Lammy can absolutely be held responsible for laughing and not taking the situation seriously. One of the things that is really
What was he laughing at? Let's be clear about that. What was he laughing at?
He was laughing at Robert Jenrick.
Who said what?
Calling him out for being
a calamity Lammy, which is exactly what he is.
So he was being called an insult by a purportedly grown man, and he was laughing that off. I don't think that's unreasonable. I think it's a bit of a stretch to say that he was laughing at the situation.
He was being described as a complete calamity, and his surname was used, Calamity Lammy. That is exactly what David Lammy is. He's a calamity to the office of state that he upholds.
Do you think it's appropriate to call people names?
It's absolutely appropriate in politics to describe somebody for what they are. David Lammy has been a calamity.
Would you say that name-calling is appropriate?
It's a descriptive word.
David Lammy hit back by saying about Robert Jenrick that his mother would have said if he was a chocolate, he would lick himself. So they're both at it, aren't they?
Sure. I'm not endorsing those standards in the House of Commons at all. What I'm saying is that the laughing is part of that. I think it's unfair to characterise that as laughing at the situation, because it's just false. You're really stretching that.
This is also a government who, if you think about all of the disorder that has taken place in the time when Labour have been in government, one of the things that is really upsetting people at the moment, and has actually led to people quite seriously discussing the prospect of civil war, is two-tier justice in this country. And David Lammy is responsible for justice.
Civil war?
People are quite seriously having conversations about that.
Who thinks we're at civil war?
Well, if you look at the streets of Whitechapel at the weekend, I think you can draw your own conclusion as to what this government is doing to divide this country. But if you want to talk about Calamity Lammy...
UKIP who put on that protest.
If you want to talk about Calamity Lammy...
What's the government got to do with
describing
that?
David Lammy as a calamity...
It was prevented from happening in that particular place. Sorry, Jamie, I'm cutting you off. Go on.
Describing David Lammy as a calamity is very accurate. This is a Foreign Secretary that has handed our overseas territories to Mauritius. This man is a calamity in the offices of state he upholds.
A deal that was organised by the Tories.
And he should not be laughing, he should be insulted.
I just want to... I want to ourselves on because we have got a lot to get through tonight. A prison service spokesperson said any offender caught using a phone or social media in prison will face punishment, which could include additional time behind bars. I just want to throw ahead as well to something quickly, which is that today the government decided to announce that they were going to be putting illegal migrants in disused military bases. I've got an exclusive for you at 10 p.m, which is pretty huge, actually. A gun and knife-obsessed Libyan man living RAF Weathersfield. I've also got some other shocking things going on in RAF Weathersfield, including female cleaners being sexually assaulted. More on that a bit later on. Of course, there is never really a good time to do this, screeching handbrake turn, but I'm going to do it anyway because we have to. It's the Great British Giveaway. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
There's just 3 days to see how you can win big, with a prize worth over £104,000. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. Worth over £74,000, this luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. The coming year could be your best yet, but hurry, get your entry in now. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up... Well, these are live pictures of what is being described as the storm of the century that has now crashed into Jamaica. Wind speeds in excess of 185 miles an hour. But before that...
And may I take this opportunity to thank our outstanding British Transport Police for everything that they do to support staff and passengers.
Well, I'm afraid to say it's more devastating economic news for the Chancellor, because today she found out she'll have to find another £7 billion, yes, billion pounds, after the hole in the public finances just got even bigger. Gosh, you know, do you have any sympathy for Rachel Reeves? That's next.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, there you go. That is live footage from Jamaica, where the storm of the century has now crashed into the Caribbean island. Winds in excess of 185 miles an hour. We're getting reports that Brits, they're on holiday or maybe even living there as well, of course, are now caught up in all of this. We'll bring you the very latest. But first, do you have it in your hearts to feel sorry for the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves? Time now for the head-to-head. Well, the Chancellor's about to unleash a nightmare before Christmas on us, but now it's the nightmare before Halloween for her, because after a significant downgrade in the UK's productivity forecast, it means that a black hole has just got £7 billion bigger, meaning that Rachel Reeves may have to resort to even bigger tax rises. So far, reports have suggested she's even considering breaking a Labour manifesto promise by raising income tax. Over the weekend, the Mail on Sunday revealed the Chancellor is also considering a so-called mansion tax on properties over £2 million, which of course is basically a large box in London. It's little wonder, isn't it, that she was reduced to tears in Parliament earlier this year, just hours after Labour rebels hijacked her attempts to make massive savings on the government's welfare spending.
And may I take this opportunity to thank our outstanding British Transport Police for everything that they do to support staff and passengers.
And she struggled to raise a smile during the Prime Minister's speech at Labour Party conference earlier this month as well.
Just from the top, but from the grassroots. Because
What's the music video to Hello Darkness, My Old Friend there? But tonight I'm asking, do you feel sorry for the Chancellor? Going ahead on this now, political strategist Pablo Ohana and former Conservative Treasury Minister Angela Knight. Thank you very much. Angela, I'd like to start with you. Do you have any sympathy for the Chancellor?
It's always hard being a Chancellor when times are difficult. There's no two ways about that. It's much easier when everything's on the rise and you've got money in the bank. And then you can do a lot of things and everybody will cheer you. But the key question that you have to ask, or the Chancellor's got to ask themselves, is given it's a difficult time, globally as well as locally, given that we're all still suffering with the costs of the pandemic, if not the actual health consequences, you have to ask yourself, how best can I play this hand? And what she has done is played it extremely badly. So on the one hand, you can feel a sort of bit of human sorrow for someone who's in a difficult situation. But on the other hand, she's making a bad fist of it and needs to take a deep breath and really think again.
Yeah, well, quite. I mean, Pablo, you know, Crimea River when it comes to Brexit, the war in Ukraine, lockdown. Labour wants to lock down harder, faster and stronger than anybody else, for goodness sake. Is she going to take some personal responsibility at all when she wallops our taxes up in a month's time?
I mean, she has tied her hands with all these promises that they made before the election. You know, COVID in Ukraine hit a lot of people, but Brexit and a decade of stop-start Tory economics run by not one, not two, but 5 different prime ministers is what has left Britain in this kind of uniquely difficult position. Leaving the EU, unsurprisingly, has just destroyed our economy. Food prices are up 40%, 5,000 fewer GPs, illegal immigration quadrupled.
Sorry, Pablo, just to cut you off there, mate. Why has Germany been in recession then?
The United Kingdom is in a uniquely difficult position. Lots of countries have had difficult times, including European countries, but the UK has been the one hit hardest, and that is the legacy of Brexit, designed by Farage and delivered by the Conservatives. So I'm not saying that we have to have complete sympathy for Rachel Reeves, but she has been left a really messy picture by the Conservatives.
So let's jump in on a couple of those things, if I may, and I apologise because, as you know, you've got a glitch, and so I can't see you, so I do apologise if I sort of sound a bit odd or I'm not talking to you directly when that is what I'm intended to do. So, but let me jump in. I mean, first of all, you know, I think everybody's got to get over Brexit. Whichever way anybody voted, the public voted out. So it's no good saying, oh, the public's wrong and we shouldn't have done it. Yeah, fine, but it's done. So you need to park that. The question is, what is it that one does with the situation in which you face yourself, you face? And with Rachel Reeves, first of all, the things that she's done wrong, which are actually quite big, was that hike on national insurance. And if you couple that with the increase in the minimum wage, it meant for some companies, the hospitality industry being a big example, there's something like a 20% increase in their costs. Right now, we're having a situation in which float after float of ideas are coming out. The whole of the housing market is now frozen top to bottom because nobody knows what is going to happen. You've got a situation where something like there's 9 million people, young people, 9 million of the working population who are not working, and yet we're not looking at the benefits situation, the benefits bill, which is just getting bigger and bigger. We're not looking at that. We're just carrying on paying it. And the energy policy is, quite frankly, ludicrous, leading to us being the most expensive electricity cost in the country, impacting our industry and resulting in a deindustrialization. So what you have to do as a Chancellor is you've got to address the cost side and not just say, oh, I'm going to find a few people in this duck shoot and shoot them with more taxation.
Okay.
You know, you have to look at it in the round, and she hasn't done that, and that's what she needs to do.
All right, guys, I'm sorry about this. We're going to have to whiz it on just because we've got a bit of breaking news, but thank you very, very much, both of you. Really do appreciate it. Political strategist Pablo Ohana and former Conservative Treasury Minister Angela Knight there. I just want to tell you about this. Coming up at 10 p.m. On the same day, the government announced that they are going to be putting illegal migrants in disused military bases. I can reveal exclusive footage of an asylum seeker based at RAF Weathersfield who's been armed to the teeth with guns and knives. Plus, I have spoken exclusively to a whistleblower who claims that migrants are flashing female cleaners and defecating on the floor, as well as some other even more shocking revelations. But before all that... Yeah, we'll take you live to Jamaica because apparently this is the storm of the century. Hurricane Melissa has made landfall, winds of 185 miles an hour. And of course, as ever, when these big events go on abroad, Brits are also caught up in it. That's next.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Many parts of southern Europe are going to have a fine day tomorrow, albeit there are a few showers here and there. And actually across parts of Portugal and Spain, heavy thundery rain pushing through here. There's the potential for 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just a day or so, which is around the average for October. But further east, like I said, a lot of dry weather to be had. But worth noting, some showery rain pushing its way eastwards across parts of Cyprus, though this doesn't look especially heavy. More fine weather for most as we go through the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Further showers for many of us, particularly northern parts of the UK during the next 24 hours. Chilly in the north as well, in between any showers with clear spells about. Low pressure continues to drive weather systems into northern and southern parts of the country, with this weather front turning up during the evening, bringing a spell of more persistent wet weather into Wales initially, that turning heavy in places, and then it spills into the Midlands and other parts of the southern third of the UK. Further showers for northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. But in between the showers, there will be some clear spells, and under those clear skies, temperatures will fall into the low single figures in places. So a few chilly spots first thing Wednesday, the odd mist and fog patch as well, particularly for sheltered parts of northern and northeastern Scotland, where temperatures could dip down just below freezing in some of the most sheltered glens. Otherwise, it's 5 to 7 degrees first thing, and we've got these showers moving into western and central Scotland. Some flakes of wet snow over the hills. Northern Ireland also seeing some showers, particularly for the north and the west. But a decent spell of brighter and drier weather for North Wales and northern England from the word go. And we do see the rain across parts of South and East Wales, and the southwest tend to peel away with skies brightening here, but it just does move into the East Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast by the afternoon. A damp and gloomy afternoon here, 14 Celsius in London, 8 to 10 Celsius for parts of Scotland. Thursday starts off bright with, again, a few pockets of frost and fog, but it doesn't last long. We keep the sunny spells in the east, whilst the next system brings wetter weather into the west with an increasing wind, gales in exposed western parts. And it stays unsettled through Friday and the weekend. A lot of showers around, but in between some brighter spells and feeling a bit warmer.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Shortly, I'm going to reveal all from RAF Weathersfield. Really astonishing detail there. But before that, British tourists are being locked down in hotels across Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa made landfall. It's being described now as the hurricane of the century.
Regarding Hurricane Melissa, still in Jamaica. Everybody in the comments saying that we should have left. I mean, if I could have, I would have. Mattress against the window. We will probably move towards the bathroom in a few hours. We're okay, we're safe, the kids are good. They're distracted with their iPads. Very lucky that we've got a generator at our hotel, so we've still got electricity and Wi-Fi.
Just to give you a little bit of context, the storm is stronger than Hurricane Katrina, which, as you might remember, left more than 1,000 people dead, caused an estimated $125 billion worth of damage when it crashed into New Orleans in 2005. Wind speeds are currently around 185 miles an hour. You're watching a live feed there from Reuters, which appears to be through a man's hotel room. So that's good, isn't it? I'm joined now by meteorologist Steph Golter. Steph, look, thank you very much. Can you just explain to us exactly how devastating this particular hurricane is expected to be?
Well, the storm now has popped off the north of Jamaica, so hopefully we've now seen the worst. But when it slammed in, it was one of the strongest storms we've ever seen in the Atlantic basin. So it had winds of 185 miles an hour. And those are steady winds, don't forget. The gusts of winds are well in excess of that. We also had a storm surge of around 4 metres. And all in, we're expecting around 75 centimetres of rain from this storm. Now, in the UK, if we get 5 to 10 millimetres of rain, we call that a wet day. So you can imagine just how much rain 75 centimetres is. And of course, it's not just one lovely little blanket of 75 centimetres of rain. It falls on mountains, it falls on hills, it falls great big torrents of water hurtling down the mountainside towards the sea. So you end up with landslides as well. It is really dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, some of these images are absolutely shocking, aren't they, really? And I suppose, not to get too morbid about it, but the grim reality is that we might have to wait for the things to settle down a bit before we realise exactly how much damage it's done and exactly how many lives may have been lost.
Yeah, it's impossible right now to say because winds of 185 miles an hour and gusts on top could take down really quite sturdy buildings. So we're just going to have to wait to see when this moves out. When we get connectivity again, what's happened there? What'll probably happen is we'll send out some, some drones or some aircraft to see what's happened on the ground. And because we won't be able to get to all areas because there will be landslides, the roads will be blocked, the roads will have been washed away.
Yeah, I mean, it's also worth noting, as I think you were alluding to there, that basically internet connection is pretty much down in Jamaica, which is one of the reasons why we can't go straight away now to a British tourist who's holed up in a hotel room somewhere, because they simply have not got these signals. So, again, it might be a case where in a couple of hours' time that emerges and we can show you the kind of true scale of the devastation there. But, just in terms of what people will be doing right now to try to stay safe and in the hotels or in their homes, will it be, kind of putting mattresses against doors and kind of cowering in the bathrooms and basements?
The National Hurricane Centre said put as many walls as you can between you and the outside. So that often is the bathroom of a hotel room. And they also said, and you might feel a little bit ridiculous doing this, but I would follow this advice, cover yourself in a mattress and wear a helmet if you have one for extra safety. So that is how serious this is. You've got to get away from all doors, all windows, as many walls as possible between you and the outside. And that just gives you the greatest chance of making it through the storm. But just to pick you up on one point you said just a second ago, it might be more than a couple of hours before we hear from all of Jamaica, because when storms like this, they hit places like we've seen the Philippines absolutely devastated by storms in the past, and it's taken weeks to find out exactly how bad that's been. So a couple of hours may be slightly optimistic.
Yeah, well, no, I'm glad that you picked up on that. Can I just ask as well, once it's eventually kind of finished with Jamaica, where are we expecting it to hit next? What can we expect this trajectory to be?
So the eye of the storm has popped off the north coast of Jamaica now. So the winds have been at their worst. They will start to get better. But it's a slow process, so the winds will still be incredibly strong and damaging for a while yet before slowly beginning to ease. But there's still a hell of a lot of rain coming, so it's still going to be absolutely drenched there, and that's going to exacerbate any problems with flooding there is, and there could well be more landslides between now and, say, when the worst is over. So you can see the eye of the storm there on that windy chart. It's just off the north of Jamaica, and it's now heading its way northwards. Now, because it's over the sea, there is a chance it could re-intensify. But fortunately, there's actually not much sea between, say, Jamaica and Cuba, where it's going to next. So that will stop it re-intensifying too much. And also the winds high up in the atmosphere now, they're quite strong, and that works to kind of push the storm over and stops it re-intensifying.
Yeah.
So hopefully it won't be any stronger than it is at the moment. And currently, because it was shredded by the mountains in Jamaica, it looks like the strongest winds now, the strongest sustained winds, are around 145 miles an hour. But that storm, because it's been shredded, is a mess. It's hard to tell exactly the strongest winds. So in the next few hours, we're going to see the hurricane hunters fly through the eye of the storm to get more data to tell us exactly what that storm's doing at the moment.
Goodness gracious me. I mean, aside from obviously all the devastation that is going to wreak, just the idea of being a hurricane hunter, I must say, is the kind of thing that sounds quite exciting until you're actually asked to do it, I suppose. But Steph, thank you very, very much. And, you know, really kind of bringing that to life for people here in the UK. And, you know, look, we really do hope that everybody there is safe and everyone manages to make it out OK, and that the storm passes without causing too much devastation. Although, of course, you just have to look at some of those pictures and think that's not necessarily that likely. Steph, thank you very much. Steph Gold to that, who's a meteorologist for us. Like I said, look, we'll bring you all the updates for it as we get it. Expect some more images there from that storm as we get them. But coming up at 10 p.m, big story this. It's the same day that the government has decided to announce that they are going to be putting illegal migrants in various different disused military bases. Well, I've got footage for you that shows a Libyan gun and knife fanatic has been living at RAF Weathersfield, but it gets even worse than that as well. I spoke to a whistleblower who used to work at that site, who said that female cleaners are being sexually abused. They were also seeing some pretty devastating, disgusting images of personal hygiene there. Some of these illegal migrants just defecating on the floor and expecting people to pick it up. And I will bring you the very latest, of course, as well, after an illegal Afghan migrant was arrested on suspicion of both murder and attempted murder following a triple stabbing in West London yesterday. But before all of that, well, there's a bit of indoctrination going on at schools, and given the news agenda today, I've got a feeling that schools might actually need it, because apparently children as young as 8 are now being taught, actively taught, to see migration in a positive light. Stay tuned.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here to GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GBNews family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You have the power then. Yeah, as I say, now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Coming up in just a few minutes' time, I'm going to reveal that shocking exclusive footage of an asylum seeker based at RAF Weathersfield armed to the teeth with guns and knives on the same day. The government thinks it's a good idea to put more illegal migrants in disused military bases. But I tell you what this needs, doesn't it? It needs a little bit of child indoctrination to make it all seem palatable. Step Forward, a charity that bankrolled by the Home Office, which is you, the taxpayer, using your cash to teach school kids as young as 8 to see migration in a positive light. According to The Sun, Migrant Help has launched a nationwide programme to, quote, challenge the mindset of school kids, offering free assemblies and workshops, including an exercise asking kids to imagine that they have 5 minutes to flee their home. Well, it's actually quite relevant, isn't it, given some of the news topics that we've been covering tonight. The Open Borders charity received 47.8 million quid in government contracts and grants last year, most of which came from the Home Office, which again I'll say is you. That's more than 80% of its £58.1 million income. I'm joined now by the former Independent Chief Inspector of Borders and Immigration, John Vine. John, thank you very, very much. Why are we indoctrinating kids to think that it's a good idea to have mass immigration?
Well, I'm not entirely sure that the charity is actually funded to do what you're suggesting. This is a charity that's being funded to actually provide support to migrants who've arrived in the UK. And so I do wonder why they've embarked upon a programme of this nature, because it isn't, in effect, the core business for them. What the Home Office has traditionally done is use charities in this sector to give it capacity to do the things it doesn't have the capacity to do itself. And so I assume, I don't know this charity very well, but I assume that it's been given the public money to actually do things other than teaching school kids.
Yeah, and just before people jump up and down, you know, I mean, this was a contract that was signed under the Conservative Party, which I will point out as well. You know, I know, I appreciate it's not your fault, but, you know, I do wonder if immigration, both legal and illegal, was such an obviously good thing, I don't think we'd need to be going into schools to tell 8-year-olds to ignore the bleeding obvious, would we?
Well, probably not. I mean, I was quite surprised when I first was appointed Chief Inspector of Borders and I set up the inspectorate. I couldn't really quite get my head around why the Home Office was funding so many charities in this sector. Yeah. And I suddenly realised that it was because there wasn't the capacity in the Home Office, there wasn't the manpower to actually do everything that they wanted. So they outsourced, in effect, a lot of stuff to charities. And Migrant Help isn't the only charity in this position. There'll be quite a number of other charities that rely on grants from the Home Office to provide all sorts of services. I mean, including, for example, a voluntary return scheme. I mean, when I was active as an inspector, there was a charity running a voluntary return scheme to get people back to the countries from whence they arrived, and from whence they came, I should say, and to do that on behalf of the government.
Yeah, I mean, I actually do think this is incredibly sinister. I mean, that we know that in some primary schools in quite rural areas of Scotland, they're being taught Arabic so that they can welcome, quotes, the new Scots, right? Which is, I think, quite a sinister thing that's going on there. You've got people there, you know, basically telling 8-year-olds how to think when it comes to immigration. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I think that's I really do think that's pretty awful, pretty catastrophic stuff. And yeah, how is it being allowed to happen?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's down to the Scottish Government to decide what it actually teaches in Scottish schools. At the end of the day, these charities aren't there to provide teaching of this sort in schools. They're there to provide the peripheral services around managing illegal migration to the UK on behalf of the Home Office, and that's why they're getting paid. So I think what the government needs to do in this case is to look at what this charity is doing and make sure they're actually
absolutely. Well,
the public money
I would
properly.
like to counter it by saying I'm happy to go into schools for free and tell them what a terrible idea mass immigration is. But anyway, John, thank you very much. John Vine there, who's the former Independent Chief Inspector for Borders and Immigration. Spokesperson for the charity Migrant Help said the aim of Migrant Help's schools programme is to engage with teachers and pupils across the UK to help encourage critical thinking and compassion when it comes to immigration issues. And the Home Office said that their funding is entirely through charitable donations. So there you go. Look, at 10 p.m, which in a couple of minutes' time, big exclusive from the inside of RAF Weathersfield. Stay tuned.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Further showers for many of us, particularly northern parts of the UK during the next 24 hours. Chilly in the north as well, in between any showers with clear spells about. Low pressure continues to drive weather systems into northern and southern parts of the country, with this weather front turning up during the evening, bringing a spell of more persistent wet weather into Wales initially, that turning heavy in places, and then it spills into the Midlands and other parts of the southern third of the UK. Further showers for northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. But in between the showers, there will be some clear spells, and under those clear skies, temperatures will fall into the low single figures in places. So a few chilly spots first thing Wednesday, the odd mist and fog patch as well, particularly for sheltered parts of northern and northeastern Scotland, where temperatures could dip down just below freezing in some of the most sheltered glens. Otherwise, it's 5 to 7 degrees first thing, and we've got these showers moving into western and central Scotland. Some flakes of wet snow over the hills. Northern Ireland also seeing some showers, particularly for the north and the west. But a decent spell of brighter and drier weather for North Wales and northern England from the word go. And we do see the rain across parts of South and East Wales, and the southwest tend to peel away with skies brightening here, but it just does move into the East Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast by the afternoon. A damp and gloomy afternoon here, 14 Celsius in London, 8 to 10 Celsius for parts of Scotland. Thursday starts off bright with, again, a few pockets of frost and fog, but it doesn't last long. We keep the sunny spells in the east, whilst the next system brings wetter weather into the west with an increasing wind, gales in exposed western parts. And it stays unsettled through Friday and the weekend. A lot of showers around, but in between some brighter spells and feeling a bit warmer.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored. Very, very, very easy tonight. On the unpredictable. What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. An illegal Afghan who arrived in the back of a lorry allegedly kills 1 man and stabs 2 more in London. Serious questions to answer. Why was he allowed to stay in Britain? Is it actually terrorism? And how much more of this are we expected to put up with? Also tonight, on the same day that the government announces illegal migrants will be housed at a military base, indeed a few of them, I reveal that a Libyan gun and knife fanatic is living at RAF Weathersfield. That story, by the way, somehow gets even worse. I'm going to have all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. With my panel tonight, we've got writer and broadcaster Emma Trimble, Reform Party councillor Jamie McIver and Labour Party councillor Sebastian Salek. And... well, the hurricane of the century has thundered into Jamaica. We're going to have live updates for you. The winds have exceeded 185 miles an hour. So far, anyway, the true scale of devastation and, sadly, inevitable loss of life is not yet known. What we do know, though, is that Brits are in peril. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. It's happened again. Next.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom. Just coming up to 2 minutes past 10. The top story tonight, British tourists on lockdown as Hurricane Melissa, dubbed the storm of the century, is tearing across Jamaica, leaving catastrophic damage in its wake. The storm made landfall with winds of up to 185 miles an hour. That is the strongest ever recorded on the island, flattening homes and cutting power to huge areas. Officials are warning of total building failures, landslides and about a metre of rain. That's nearly double London's yearly rainfall in just 24 hours. Government ministers say Western Jamaica has already been devastated, while the Prime Minister there is urging the world to help recovery efforts once the storm passes. Around 8,000 Britons are believed to be sheltering in hotels tonight. They've been told not to leave their rooms as the eye of the storm passes overhead and now continues to Cuba. Also breaking tonight, blasts and tank fire are shaking Gaza as Israel has launched more airstrikes just hours after the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered what he called immediate and powerful attacks on Hamas. Israel says those strikes follow blatant violations of the ceasefire, claiming militants fired on its troops and handed over a coffin without the remains of a new hostage. Hamas denies the accusations, though, saying Israel is fabricating false pretexts and blocking its efforts to recover the 13 remaining hostages still buried under rubble in Gaza. Meanwhile, in Washington, the US Vice President J.D. Vance is insisting the ceasefire is holding, despite what he called little skirmishes here and there. The man arrested over a fatal triple stabbing in Uxbridge in West London entered the UK in a lorry in 2020. The Home Office has now confirmed. The 22-year-old Afghan national claimed asylum 2 years later and was then granted leave to remain in 2022. But officials say he was not living in asylum accommodation despite rumours online. Police say a 49-year-old man, named locally as Wayne Broadhurst, was killed, while 2 others, including a man and 14-year-old boy, were injured in what they say was a shocking and a senseless act of violence. The suspect was tasered and arrested on the scene on suspicion of murder and attempted murder, though officers say the attack is not being treated as terrorism. Thousands of small boat migrants will soon be moved out of hotels and into former army barracks, with the first groups expected to move in by Christmas. The government has confirmed discussions are underway for 2 sites, one in Scotland, the other in the south of England, which could house up to 900 men each. Sir Keir Starmer has ordered officials to speed up plans to use military accommodation amid growing pressure to end hotel use. His Home Secretary says she is absolutely furious that hotels are still being used to house illegal arrivals. Amazon is cutting around 14,000 corporate jobs worldwide as it shifts focus and spending towards artificial intelligence. The company says it wants to strip away layers of bureaucracy and move faster on what it calls its biggest bets, with AI at the top of that list. The job cuts will affect UK offices, among others, though most warehouse roles won't be impacted. And actress Prunella Scales, best known, of course, for her iconic Sybil Fawlty character in Fawlty Towers, has died at the age of 93. She has been commended by her sons, Samuel and Joseph, for being a wonderful mother and actress. She passed away peacefully at home in London yesterday, adding, in fact, she was watching Fawlty Towers the day before she died. Her co-star John Cleese led tributes, calling her a really wonderful comic actress, saying scene after scene, she was absolutely perfect. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back with one more roundup at 11 o'clock. Now, though, it's over to Patrick.
Good evening. Today, the Home Office posted this on social media. We will do whatever it takes to secure our borders. Well, yesterday evening, this happened. A 22-year-old Afghan man who came to Britain illegally in the back of a lorry allegedly went on a stabbing spree, brutally stabbing a dog walker to death, another man and a teenage boy. Police say a 49-year-old man named locally as Wayne Broadhurst was indeed that man sadly killed. Well, tonight, local residents have gathered at a vigil for the victims of this appalling incident. The clips of the incident are far too distressing to show you on national television. And there is so much that I want to say about this, but yet again, we have to respect the contempt of court laws in this country. The alleged attacker has been arrested, and I can't prejudice that trial, but there's a lot to this. And it makes you wonder, is anyone really safe in Britain anymore? To bring us the very latest, I'm joined now by GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. Mark, thank you very, very much. It's just yet another absolutely devastating and, to be honest with you as well, it feels slightly self-inflicted incident here in Britain.
Well, it was certainly an absolutely horrific incident. Anybody that has viewed some of the material online will know just what I mean, because it was just appalling. That vigil that's taken place in Uxbridge tonight, an indication of just how shocked the local community is at what happened and how they want to clearly make their feelings known. Throughout the day when I was there, quite a number of people were arriving to lay flowers down for Mr. Broadhurst, who they say was a very well respected and quiet and unassuming man, very liked within that local neighbourhood. We can bring you some exclusive images, Patrick, that we received that show the moments when this 22-year-old Afghan national has just been arrested by police, has been wrestled to the roadway there. There's an ambulance that's trying to get past as well, to go to tend to the 3 people that have been stabbed. Mr. Broadhurst, of course, fatally stabbed. And in addition to this video, we've also received another video that shows the moments just prior to that arrest, where the police are arriving and the suspect is seen heading down the road and then being confronted by the police. Let's take a look. So you can see how absolutely shocking that was for local residents there, seeing that incident unfold. Throughout today, police forensic teams have been at the scene just trying to gather what is of evidential value as they piece together exactly the events that happened. But we understand that the 22-year-old Afghan national who'd arrived here in 2020 in the back of a lorry and was subsequently granted asylum a couple of years later had been lodging with a family on that street, and it's understood that the 45-year-old man who was stabbed and seriously injured may have been part of that family that this former asylum seeker was living with. The 14-year-old boy, we're not sure what the relationship is, whether that young lad is a member of the family as well. But I spoke a little earlier to Ben James, a resident in the area, who rushed to the scene when he received information of what had happened, and he clearly saw a very horrific sight there. Ben, tell us what you saw last night when you first became aware that something had unfolded here.
So when I come here last night, I actually come with a friend. I saw it on one of my friends has sent me that someone's been stabbed down Midhurst Gardens in Hillingdon. I was only 3 roads away, so I pulled up with a friend yesterday, and there was 2 guys on the floor bleeding quite heavy. Very distressing, but what's worse about it, well, it's not becoming shocking no more. It's like becoming the norm, and that's what's really terrifying. If this happened 5-6 years ago, everyone would be screaming and be uproar, but now it's just becoming like the normal, and that's what's scary about it, really scary.
Well, the really sad thing about this, on top of what is an absolutely horrific tragedy, is that Wayne Broadhurst was out just walking his dog, and it seems that he intervened to try to help the 45-year-old man and the 14-year-old boy, who it seems were being chased around the street, allegedly by the suspect there. So absolutely appalling incident that unfolded yesterday evening. The details only now emerging more than 24 hours later.
Well, quite, and sadly, Mark, of course, we get the impression that there's probably a few more details to come as well. So it's Mark White there, who's our Home and Security Editor. Thank you, Mark, not just for this, but for everything you've done for us today out on the scene as well. Look, I was just checking now, as Mark was talking about whether or not the Prime Minister said anything about this. No, he tweeted about Black History Month. He's tweeted about a deal he's done with Turkey, which is just Turkey to you and I, but he feels the need to spell it and say it like that. I haven't seen anything from the Home Secretary. She's tweeted about how many people she's deporting. You know, bit too little too late there, some would argue as well. I'm going to return to this story shortly, because I'm going to be talking to a top police officer about it. I want to understand what the investigation will be like going forward and what it's like to get that phone call to react to a scene as devastating as that. But this is a story that I know will, frankly, make the hairs of your neck stand on end. Dangerous fighting-age men are claiming asylum in Britain. I can reveal shocking exclusive footage of an asylum seeker based at RAF Weathersfield. So he appears to be from Yemen. What you're looking at here is his Snapchat profile. So it says it's at that former military base, RAF Weathersfield. You'll see a few pictures of it flash up on your screen. He's also posted pro-Palestine content. You might have just seen flash up. There it is, calling for Allah to free the Palestinian people. Now, he's then posted content from inside that complex. But get ready for the really scary stuff, which is going to come in just a second or two as we work our way through this individual's Snapchat story. He's posted numerous videos and pictures of himself described as armed to the teeth. At some points, he appears to have AK-47s, pistols, knives. He's driving around in a car with weapons there. I mean, there he is, sitting in a room in Yemen, just casually holding a rifle, driving around with them. That's a massive knife. We've got rounds of ammunition, the 4x4 vehicles there that you'll see. All of this is available on this guy's Snapchat story. He was not trying to hide this. So he came to Britain illegally. He was then put in RAF Weathersfield. And look at it, phones, guns, knives, everything. That is who was living in RAF Weathersfield. And, I mean, bear in mind that RAF Weathersfield is a former military base. Yep. And today, of course, the government announced that they were going to be using more military bases to house more people, quite possibly like that. But believe it or not, it gets worse. I spoke with a former worker at RAF Weathersfield, and he told me the following. Staff are apparently made to stand in close proximity to the migrants before they have undergone medical checks. Staff are not provided with PPE. They're not provided with protective medical gear. They fear being exposed to various diseases like TB or scabies. Migrants have 3 all-you-can-eat buffets every single day, but staff are not allowed to eat food from the buffet. They have to pay for their own food. Staff are apparently being asked to take a pay cut as well. They regularly have to break up fights between warring factions of migrants, normally over access to the games room. These illegal migrants are then given free buses to Colchester, Braintree and Chelmsford every single day. Some migrants are also allegedly exposing their genitals to female cleaning staff when they're in the shower area. Some migrants also are defecating on the floor instead of using the toilet. Now, if you don't believe me, there is a picture here to prove it, and I'm sorry about this, it is quite graphic, but unfortunately, you know, this is the reality, isn't it? So here we go. Let's have a look at it. There you are. They just defecate on the floor, and they expect staff at RAF Weathersfield to just pick that up for them. That is human faeces on the floor. Now, I've got these quotes from a former worker about what they claim the conditions are like at that site. They say to me, "We're not safe here. We are at risk of catching diseases. We don't know if the people here are terrorists or relatives of Taliban commanders. I am being asked to feed my family on just over £2,000 a month, but I have to sit here and watch these migrants stuff their faces at all-you-can-eat buffets 3 times a day, while the private company who runs the site makes massive profits. They stack their plates full of food, then put half of it in the bin, and then complain about the quality of the food. I have to bring my own dinner in. We're not allowed to eat anything from the buffet, even though it all goes to waste. They leave filth everywhere, they don't flush the toilets, they lie about their age, they say that their birthday is January the 1st. Some of them are at least 20 years older than what they say. They're allowed holidays to visit friends or family in places like London and Manchester, and we're not always sure whether or not they come back. They get free phones, a gym, whatever toiletries they want. If they want to leave at 2 a.m. to go for a walk, we have to let them out because, quote, this is not a prison. There are fights all the time, and the only protection that we have is a body-worn camera. That's it. Some of the security staff are from India and Pakistan, and they don't even speak English. And they just leg it if there's any trouble. My taxes are paying for them to live like this. Now, we'll just remind you, again, that today it was announced that the government is going to be putting more illegal migrants in more disused military bases. So thoughts from my panel. We've got broadcaster Emma Trimble, Reform UK councillor Jamie McIver and Labour councillor Sebastian Sallow. Emma, I'll start with you. I know there's a huge amount to unpack there, but you've got a potent combination of gun and knife enthusiasts from war-torn countries, you know, sexual assault going on as well, and the poor treatment of staff who work there.
Yeah, I mean, just to say first, I mean, the quotation there from the former worker at RAF Weathersfield, the fact that the staff are not allowed to eat and that these people are coming here quite literally treating the entire country as their buffet and that we have to pay for them to live like kings, I just think it's unjust and it's despicable. But to set that aside for a moment, to focus on the guy with his knives, to me, the obvious thing about this news story about how the government are going to be putting more asylum seekers into military accommodation, I immediately thought, well, just on the face of it, surely to everyone this is obviously a security risk. So I asked somebody who's a military-affiliated contact who has first-hand experience of this, and he told me that in places where they housed Afghans who were coming here as families, they were coming legally, they were part of the Afghan relocation scheme, and they were being housed initially on military bases. In those places, they still had weekly security breaches because they're on the inside of the wiring of these military bases. They walk off unescorted. They're having to be constantly babysat, basically, by the army. So there's a complete drain on personnel, on resources. They also had weekly incidents of sexual assault. And that's with people who are coming as families legally. And he said to me that he thinks that this, you know, would be so much worse if you're housing people who are coming over illegally from these war-torn places, young men, housing them in these areas. It's obviously a security risk, and the MOJ should not be allowing this to happen.
No, I mean, we've got a lot of security risks there. I mean, Jamie, I know there's probably a lot you want to go at, but I mean, one of the things that really stood out to me, and people might think it's a minor detail, but I actually think it's really quite on the nose, and certainly from the former member of staff that I was speaking to, this is one of the things that really got to him, which was that they were being asked to take a pay cut. His take-home pay will be something in the region of 2,200 quid at the end of the month. He's got to feed his family on that and do all of that stuff. And he was saying, you know, they are not even allowed to eat from the buffet. They have to stand there and watch as these people are treated better and really claim more in benefits every single month in the round than they do.
Oh, Patrick, it's just the typical story of this country that the British people have to bend over backwards to accommodate for people entering the country illegally. That's just a fine example, the staff at the hotel, the way they're being treated. But let's be real about this. This country is slowly turning into a third world hellhole when it comes to the sort of people that are being imported. You know, feces on the floor like that, staff not able to eat from the buffet but illegal migrants are. Let's stop calling them asylum seekers. They're entering the country illegally. They are illegal migrants. Let's call it what it is. But more importantly, these people are dangerous. You know, as someone that lives near Epping, but actually Weathersfield is just up the road from me too. There are more people in that camp than there actually is in the entire village. This is getting out of control. I don't believe for a second the government is serious about deporting people because they're making plans for where to put them. Why are they putting them where people live?
OK, yeah, Sebastian, I mean, look, what's your take? I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, quite a lot of detail. Your views on it?
There is a lot. I would be interested to ask you, have we heard from HMP Weathersfield, sorry, RAF Weathersfield?
Yeah.
Have we had a statement from them?
We've gone to them for comment, yeah.
And they haven't come back to you?
They haven't come back to us yet, and also we've gone to the private company that runs that site, and they've not come back to us.
Because I think that's the crucial bit of information here. There are two sides to every story. Clearly what we've heard is incredibly shocking, but I'd want to hear the other side of the argument as well, to be able to form a full opinion on what's going on.
What could they possibly say to you about sexual assaults, about people who've demonstrably there had knives and gun enthusiasts and who are pooing on the floor? What could they say to you?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I'm not looking for anything in particular. If all of that is true, then I think we can all condemn it. That's pretty easy. But I've been a journalist. I know the first rule: you want to hear the full story. You want to get all your sources together.
With all due respect, the story is very clear across the country. You've got thousands of people entering the country illegally. They're being put in hotels. The government now saying they're going to basically copy reform and put them into camps, but they're going to do it where there's populated areas, unlike reform, who said they're going to put them far away from urban areas. The point is, the government haven't got a plan. There's no plan to stop these people from leaving these camps. At the moment, they can be sent freely to cities. I mean, for God's sake, the convicted sexual assaulter was walking the streets of Chelmsford. As far as we're concerned, these people in these camps are waiting to commit a crime. You know, there is no...
Waiting to commit a crime?
I believe there, because How
do you know?
We don't know,
well,
and that's the point. And that's
it.
the
No,
point.
but you're saying it's the third word hellhole. You're saying that they're dangerous. You're making these assertions.
Yes.
We have a word for that. It's prejudice.
No. We have a word for it, and it's called not misleading the British people by telling them that it's the contrary. These people, we don't know who these people are. So to suggest that they might not be dangerous...
So why are you reaching the conclusion that they are dangerous?
Why are we reaching
why
the conclusion?
are you thinking
because
the worst
they
of them?
sexually assault young girls, because they've got TikToks and things with guns and violence, and they're coming from countries like Afghanistan. That's why.
Because they're coming from Afghanistan.
And
that's the
many
reason
other
you're seeing people are violent. Because somebody's an Afghan.
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Is that what you think of Afghans?
No, I look at the statistics and they don't lie. That's what I do. I look at the facts, unlike people on the left that like to make people like me out to be something naughty because I dare suggest the facts.
Well, you've just told me you're reaching conclusions based on somebody's nationality.
I said we don't know, but we do know the facts.
Well,
look at the facts.
Some of those facts, obviously, with the stats about the Afghan sex assault rate, which is just 20 times higher than the rate of British nationals, obviously, as well. We don't want to prejudice any trials today, but there's some really quite shocking news out of London as well, which does appear to involve an Afghan. But just to get back to the point about the RAF Weathersfield issue there, the Libyan chap with the knives and guns, etc. The other aspect of that story for me was the free reign which these people have. So they are allowed to, let's say it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and they say that they want to go out and about because it's not a prison. They are allowed out and about. OK, all right, I can see why it's not a prison. But if you are that way inclined and you are somebody who is, has a history of basically being in some kind of militia group, I don't imagine everyone in Yemen drives around with guns. Maybe they do, I don't know. But I think that's potentially quite dangerous to the British public.
Well, quite, and I'm actually thinking, I mean, it's obviously very plausible that they're not doing as much due diligence as you are, Patrick. I wonder whether they've even seen this guy's social media. And even if it's not a prison, there's no reason why there shouldn't be a fairly strict curfew to stop these people from wandering around the local area. I think people are rightly terrified by this. The fact that they can just, get these free buses to wherever in the country, and as that former worker said, can go off on holidays to visit people in other parts of the country and may or may not come back. I think, you're talking about prejudice. I think this is prejudice against the British people. I don't think we should have to put up with this. I think it's completely unacceptable.
What's
I think
the
it's a risk. What's the prejudice?
Yeah, how is this prejudice?
Exposing British men, women and children to potentially violent people when we don't know who they are.
But you said prejudice specifically. Can you explain where the prejudice lies there?
I don't even feel like that's something that needs explaining.
Well, no, just explain to me, because I'm honestly baffled.
Asking people to put up with this, asking people whose taxes continually go up to have to continue funding this, to have to continue funding putting their families in danger is unacceptable. I think that's prejudice.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to ask you again, where's the prejudice, though?
The assumption that we're just going to keep taking it.
But who's that prejudice towards?
Because I don't know the British people.
Is it not prejudice against the workers who are not allowed to eat the food that is funded by their tax money when they're working there on a low salary, while all of the asylum seekers, who many of whom will have entered the country illegally, are just allowed to engorge themselves on 3 times a day? Yeah, I think that's a bit prejudicial, actually.
OK, we'll meditate on that one.
OK. All right, well, yeah, we did contact the Home Office and indeed the private company who's responsible for RAF Weathersfield. They have not yet got back to us. Yeah, loads more coming on as well. I'm going to speak to a police officer shortly about that devastating incident in London. But yeah, here we go. If you are in the market for a massive motorhome and 30 grand in cash, then, here's how you can get all of that stuff.
There's just 3 days to see how you can win big, with a prize worth over £104,000. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. Worth over £74,000, this luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. The coming year could be your best yet. But hurry, get your entry in now. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, all right. Well, look, very shortly we're going to be returning to that really devastating story. A 22-year-old Afghan illegal migrant has been arrested for the alleged stabbing of one man to death and 2 other people as well. I want to talk to a police officer about this to find out how the police respond to incidents like this, and also if you can give any more detail for us. Stay tuned.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
You know, it was so unexpected. What we needed was somebody to sit with us and talk about how we were going to feel. Yes, everyone experiences grief differently. Everyone feels very differently after they've lost their child. But there are some real common things that run through it. And one of them is guilt. Could I have prevented this happening to my child? I'm here to protect them and I didn't protect him. And that was some of the things that Paul did say to me that weekend was he felt he'd failed us. He felt he'd let George down. He'd failed me as his wife. The most awful things to say. And of course I reassured him. But what we needed was somebody who, you know, had some experience of working with families who'd experienced such loss. Someone to sit with us. And that's what Tawish does. That's the one thing that I was so passionate about, was making sure that we work with hospitals, the police, because there's obviously a heavy police influence as well. Somebody who will get that referral, the family then can sit with our workers and just talk.
And Rhiannon, Tawish is now part of Prince William's new National Suicide Prevention Network, which is launched. Around 20 organisations, I believe, around the country. Can you just explain how the charity and yourself got involved and how that led to Prince William literally sitting in your kitchen and you having a chat with him?
I've just worked with the Royal Foundation, so I'm honestly overwhelmed that they want us to be part of this very important network. So it's bringing the 4 nations together, which again is a unique piece of work where people can talk, find out why is this happening to our loved ones? What can we do to support these people? Let's bring people together. Let's talk about it. And more importantly, let's talk about suicide.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back. Well, look, the news that's been dominating today is that a 22-year-old Afghan illegal migrant who entered Britain in the back of a lorry before obviously being given indefinite leave to remain has been arrested after a triple stabbing in West London that sadly left a 49-year-old man dead. He was just out walking his dog at the time. Police and ambulance crews were called to Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge at 5 p.m. yesterday, where the Afghan man was detained at the scene after being tasered. GB News understands that the individual did come to Britain in the back of a lorry in November 2020 and naturally was allowed to stay forever. A 45-year-old man is in hospital with life-changing injuries, and sadly a 14-year-old boy was also hurt in the incident. I wanted to bring you a kind of police-eyes view on this. Again, what I will say is there are just unbelievably awful clips of this, which I am not playing to you. We're not going to play to you on national television, OK? And the man has been arrested, and therefore we do have to, slightly annoyingly, be very careful because we don't want to prejudice any trial that may follow. But one thing we can talk about is how the police react to these situations. That's why I'm joined now by former Met Police officer Mike Neville. Mike, thank you very much for joining us this evening. OK, so the call comes in, and you're a police officer, and you get the indication that there's some kind of mass stabbing and the attacker is still on the loose. What goes through the police's mind here? How do the police respond to that?
Well, you're well trained, and I'm often coming on here, criticising the police for failing to, catch criminals and stuff, but often my criticisms are around senior officers and their priority. So if I put myself in these young officers' shoes, and I was that young officer at one point, you get the call and you simply do your duty, really. You react to what's happening. So you're called out to these stabbings. I remember being a young PC at Clapham police station. Man was waving a knife around. Several of us tackled this guy, took him to the ground. You simply do your duty. And I always say when I joined the police, I was a soldier before that. It's all about service before self. And it's about running towards the danger rather than running away from it. I mean, I received 2 commendations for courage, one for tackling a man with a gun, another one for tackling a very, very violent drug dealer. But these are not unusual. Lots and lots of officers have been commended in doing the same. And you simply turn into, I think, some kind of robotic mode. You go in there. One of the things I did find out, and I found the same in the army when people start shooting at you, that you never know people's character until the knife or the gun is pulled out. And it doesn't matter if you're big or small, you find out people's true character when the drama strikes.
Can I also ask you, Mike, because the scene, again, we're not showing this footage, but people can guess what the scene looked like because we had several people very desperately injured. So you arrive at the scene, your first objective is to what? Neutralise the threat, and then because you're there before, very often the ambulances get there or the fire brigade in some cases, do you have to make an instant snap assessment of, right, what condition are people in? How savable is someone? Who do I need to go to first? How do you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the key things you think about is that whoever's making the most noise needs the least help. It's the person who's really quiet. That's the person you need to deal with. And you need to deal with everybody. The public will be shocked. You need to treat the guy who's done the stabbing as well, because firstly, you want to make sure that he faces justice. So, but the key thing is who's the most silent. The victim in this circuit, I've seen the video here. It's absolutely horrendous. The key thing would be to get to that victim, put as many pressure points on, as many dressings and whatever else, stop the bleeding, save that person and make sure that they are alive. So the key victim is the first priority. But as I say, those who are shouting loudest often need the least help.
And just very quickly and finally, Mike, and again, this is alleged, this is just where we are in the justice procedure at the moment, and we don't want to do anything to try to jeopardise that. But in similar cases, when you're a police officer and you attend a scene and you see that someone has done something absolutely appalling and it knocks you sick, and then you have to kind of look after that guy in custody, is that quite a difficult thing for the police to do, really? Because, look, you're all human, right? You all react in the same way that maybe you or I would looking at some of these clips now.
We are human, and people get angry and annoyed about things. But the facts are, what you want to do is make sure that that person gets convicted. And every time, if you punch that person, if you hit that person, what you're doing, every punch, you reduce the chances of that person being convicted. So you make sure you treat them professionally, you get them to the police station so they can be locked in the cells, so the detectives can do their investigations, and you can make sure that person has the best chance of going to jail. That's what you call professionalism.
Well, Mike, thank you very much for your time this evening, as ever. Mike Neville there, who's a former Met police officer. Again, I would just like to say my condolences to all of the victims in this absolutely horrific case. We'll bring you any more updates as and when we get them, of course, but it's just such a damning indictment of where we're at in Britain. You know, you just go out to walk your dog one day and something like this happens. You know, how much more of this stuff are we really expected to take? But coming up, I'll have all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Breaking news on the front of the Telegraph as well. Voters apparently now prefer Nigel Farage to the Prime Minister, and I believe there's some stuff about Brigitte Macron. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Many parts of southern Europe are going to have a fine day tomorrow, albeit there are a few showers here and there. And actually across parts of Portugal and Spain, heavy thundery rain pushing through here. There's the potential for 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just a day or so, which is around the average for October. But further east, like I said, a lot of dry weather to be had. But worth noting, some showery rain pushing its way eastwards across parts of Cyprus, though this doesn't look especially heavy. More fine weather for most as we go through the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Further showers for many of us, particularly northern parts of the UK during the next 24 hours. Chilly in the north as well, in between any showers with clear spells about. Low pressure continues to drive weather systems into northern and southern parts of the country, with this weather front turning up during the evening, bringing a spell of more persistent wet weather into Wales initially, that turning heavy in places, and then it spills into the Midlands and other parts of the southern third of the UK. Further showers for northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. But in between the showers, there will be some clear spells, and under those clear skies, temperatures will fall into the low single figures in places. So a few chilly spots first thing Wednesday, the odd mist and fog patch as well, particularly for sheltered parts of northern and northeastern Scotland, where temperatures could dip down just below freezing in some of the most sheltered glens. Otherwise, it's 5 to 7 degrees first thing, and we've got these showers moving into western and central Scotland. Some flakes of wet snow over the hills. Northern Ireland also seeing some showers, particularly for the north and the west. But a decent spell of brighter and drier weather for North Wales and northern England from the word go. And we do see the rain across parts of South and East Wales, and the southwest tend to peel away with skies brightening here, but it just does move into the East Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast by the afternoon. A damp and gloomy afternoon here, 14 Celsius in London, 8 to 10 Celsius for parts of Scotland. Thursday starts off bright with, again, a few pockets of frost and fog, but it doesn't last long. We keep the sunny spells in the east, whilst the next system brings wetter weather into the west with an increasing wind, gales in exposed western parts. And it stays unsettled through Friday and the weekend. A lot of showers around, but in between some brighter spells and feeling a bit warmer.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Right, let's give you the very first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages. We start with the Independent. Reeves must raise income tax to fill the new gap in the budget. The Metro, I've got here, pure fury, terror as 185-mile-an-hour hurricane hits. There's several hurricane front pages for you. The iPaper, storm of the century, 185-mile-per-hour hurricane, bigger than Katrina. And the Daily Telegraph, they've got, as ever, a collection of stories there. Councils told to end 4-day weeks. They've also got Ed Miliband admitting that wind power is not as reliable as he thought. And then the sidebar story that they've got there. Afghan arrested over dog walker killing came to the UK in a lorry. Now, we're going to do more front pages in the next segment and obviously for the next hour. But there is a story that I wanted to bring to you, which is a little bit left field. And it seems that even the dead can't escape Britain's growing problem with road rage, as a funeral director in Wales is now pleading for drivers to, quote, show some respect after a hearse was sideswiped outside his funeral home, delaying a service, causing 20 grand's worth of damage. Geraint Griffiths says the crash was just the latest example of shocking behaviour, claiming similar incidents are now happening every single week. And it's caused the National Association of Funeral Directors to say it's actually becoming a nationwide issue. Impatient motorists, they're cutting into processions, they're hurling abuse at people who are literally on their way to a funeral, and they forget the simple act of decency that used to define Britain's roads. Join me now, down the line, is the funeral director from Wales, Geraint Griffiths. Geraint, thank you very, very much. Great to see you, although be it under quite sad circumstances, although I do imagine you hear that quite a lot, to be fair. So what is going on here, then?
Well, yeah, the driving manner of people's driving is just getting more and more impatient. We find it on a daily basis now, rather than a weekly or a monthly basis. It's just the manner of people's driving. They've got no patience at all when it comes to funeral processions. They're cutting in between cars. They're cutting in between the funeral processions, and they just got no patience. They're rude, and like you just said, they abuse at us. They've had road rage with us.
What's the worst thing you've ever seen, Geraint? What's the worst example you got for us?
Possibly driving in a funeral procession with 3 or 4 cars. So we got the hearse, the two limousines behind, and a third limousine behind that. You come to a roundabout, and then as you go out nice and slowly, the hearse pulls out, the second car pulls out, then somebody just comes hurling between you, and the limousine keeps going forward. Then I've seen the drivers get out the car and attack the limousine drivers. I've seen people argue. I've seen families get out the car and having to fight for their own battles, even on one roundabout. And there's just no need of it, you know. They can see it's a funeral procession and just have a little bit of respect.
I think there's a wider story here. I mean, whenever I see a hearse go by with a coffin in it, my instinctive reaction is to cross myself. That's what I did. That's what my family always did. That's what I thought was very common. It wasn't to get out and fight a widow on a roundabout, Geraint. I mean, what's going on?
I think people's mannerism and attitudes have changed over the last 10, 15 years, because when I first started 25, 30 years ago, people would take their day caps off, their caps, they'd stop on the side of the road, like you said, cross themselves the mark of respect. Traffic would let you through. They had time, but today, in society, everybody seems to be in a rush to go everywhere, and they haven't got the patience or the time to even let you go through. And it's as if they want to be in front of the hearse because they travel so slow, you know.
Well, yeah, although I can't help but notice, to be fair, as well, in Wales, I think there was a thing where they wanted to reduce it to 20 miles an hour pretty much everywhere. So, you know, maybe they just needed to get used to that. But, Greg, can I actually genuinely thank you for a couple of reasons. Firstly, for coming on the show so late in the day, but also just for what you do, right? Because it can't be an easy job. You must encounter people at literally the worst moment of their lives, for the family members. And, you know, I'll speak from some personal experience. We've all, sadly, I imagine most of us have had to go to a funeral or a few over the course of our lives, and with great respect, Geraint, you know, it's people like yourself who actually make that day a little bit more bearable. So thank you very, very much for everything that you do for people, and I'm very sorry that you're getting dogs abuse on the roads. I wish you all the very best, mate, all right? And thank you for everything. It's Geraint Griffiths there, who is, of course, the director, a funeral director in Wales. I'm absolutely astonishing that people are getting out of their cars and starting fights with funeral directors on roundabouts. Well, that's a sad sign of Britain in decline. Anyway, coming up, more newspaper front pages, and it looks as though the government is going to miss a key manifesto pledge. I haven't seen it yet, but I imagine it's income tax. Stay tuned.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
TfL are actually encouraging people to take their cats on the tube. Presumably, they want more people to travel on the tube, and they're saying let them relax on the floor during the trip. Bring some toys with them and so on. It does say to have them in a harness or on a leash, so they're not being completely irresponsible, if you like. And we've now got a response from the Cats Protection charity, who say it was shocking and warned that such travelling conditions would be hugely stressful for the animals.
Oh, for goodness sake, what is wrong with them? How are people supposed to get anywhere if you've got a pet, for example, that you're transporting? You have to have a car. Do you know what? My dog loves public transport so much that if a bus stops when I'm chatting to somebody and the door's open, on a couple of occasions he's just popped himself on a lead, and I have to, you know, luckily, thank goodness we still have drivers in vehicles, you know, they're not driverless vehicles, because, you know, they spot this dog and go, excuse me, mate, you haven't got a bus pass.
There's a famous dog from the past from Lewis who used to nip on a train and go around the southern region on a train and get back to Lewis in the evening, just on his own.
Yeah, because they're sociable creatures, aren't they? Lots of them like it. I think the issue with the TfL stuff is the fact they're showing these rucksacks, because they're a bit controversial, aren't they? All the front sacks they've got there, where the cats are kind of inside.
Catastrophe.
Very good, Norman. I think that's what people take issue with. Although one of my friends has one of these cat rucksacks, and the cat absolutely loves it, always hopping in there.
You see, I think that's the...
I think it depends on the cat.
It does depend.
What about other animals? You take snakes on, for example.
No, thank you.
Snakes on a train. Love it. Oh, yeah. New film.
I think so.
Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored. Very, very racy tonight. On the unpredictable. What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
All right, welcome back. Let's round off tomorrow's newspaper front pages. The Guardian, Reeves vows to defy gloom after £20 billion budget blow. We've also got the Daily Mail. Afghan held over murder of dog walker came to the UK in a lorry. The Sun. Save our bets. So the Sun has launched a campaign here, crucial Sun campaign. Budget tax grab set to hit punters and sports. We call on Reeves to shelve a crackdown on fun. Apparently, is going to whack up taxes on betting by as much as 138%. So there you go. The Times, Labour to miss £1.5 million homes target. Oh, there you go. It wasn't income tax, it's house building. Labour to miss £1.5 million homes target. House builders warn. All right, let's focus on that, I suppose, really. Oh, no, 4-day weeks. 4-day weeks. Why not? The Daily Telegraph, 4-day weeks. Councils are being told to end the 4-day week. Is this a good thing, do we think? Should council workers be working 5-day weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, in most places it seems like everything's going to hell in a handcart. I live in Haringey and I definitely think they could do with working a bit harder.
Yeah, Labour has launched a crackdown on a 4-day working week by rebuking the first council to have adopted it. Steve Reed, same guy's missing the housing target, to be fair, but anyway, has written to the leader of South Cambridgeshire District Council, saying deep disappointment with this. It's a good sort of popular Labour policy, then, if you're cracking down on it, I think.
It is, yeah. Do you know what? In principle, I really like the idea of a 4-day week. I think we can move towards a more balanced way of working where we can do the things we enjoy, look after our families. But I think when it comes to the public sector, it's harder to justify, isn't it? Because if things start to go wrong, this gets pointed to. And as a council, that just becomes really difficult to defend. So I can see what's going on here.
Local government is in complete crisis at the moment. It has been mishandled decades and decades of central government lack of interest, and locally they've been wrecked. I mean, particularly Conservative councils, I think Lib Dem councils, even Trump Labour councils have been so poorly run. I think it's Cornwall, £125,000 a day in debt interest payments alone. So any idea that a Lib Dem council can get around their problems with a 4-day week is full of birds. These are critical services.
Well, I must say, I've been absolutely staggering. I mean, I haven't got all the figures to hand now, but I remember rattling these off a couple of months ago. Yeah, but the sheer amount of debt that some councils are in. It's like the GDP of a small country. It's like, whoa. How's that happened? But remarkable anyway, isn't it, really? But there we go. OK, so it looks like they're going to be doing well. Is it a bad thing, do you think, especially in the Labour admission is 1.5 million homes target as well for the Times?
Do you know what? I'm not so worried about this. Whether it's 1.5 million, 1.4, 1.3, the thing that matters is that we're building more homes. That is the critical unlock for so many of the problems in this country. And I'm really pleased to see that we're cutting red tape, making it easy to build. I say this as somebody who sits on a planning committee as part of my role. We want to be able to build so that young people can afford to buy houses, they can get on with their lives, because so many people are stuck, and it's a real problem.
It's a bit misleading to tell the electorate at the general election you're going to build a specific number of homes and totally fail at doing that, because that is what's happened at the moment.
Well, no, hang on. We can't say totally fail, because this is a target for 2029. It is a target. It's exactly that.
So are you building all of them in the last year of office?
Well, you start them at various points. Houses take time to build.
No, but how many would you should have built? Loads by now. None have been built.
Well, hang on. Labour's only been in power for a year.
Yeah.
You can't...
How many spades are going in the ground? How many spades have gone in the ground or going to be going in the ground next 6 months? None, because it is absolutely wrong that you've told the electorate and all these young people that believe that Labour are going to do this. By the time these places
what would you
actually
have done?
get
Said, sorry, we're not going to build any houses.
No, you actually do what you're saying you're going to do, which is actually build the houses and cut the red tape, which isn't happening.
Well, let's come back in 2029 and have that discussion.
If your government lasts that long.
What we'll actually do is we'll come back in about 3 minutes' time and have a discussion. There we go. Because we've got that. Look, we are going to be returning clearly to the Afghan who's being held on for potential murder anyway, and much, much more as well. Stay tuned, stay tuned.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Further showers for many of us, particularly northern parts of the UK during the next 24 hours. Chilly in the north as well, in between any showers with clear spells about. Low pressure continues to drive weather systems into northern and southern parts of the country, with this weather front turning up during the evening, bringing a spell of more persistent wet weather into Wales initially, that turning heavy in places, and then it spills into the Midlands and other parts